Evening. Hello, everyone. I hope you are well, and welcome back to another series of In Conversation with. This is series 6, and my lineup for this series is off the scale. Even if I do say so myself, it's an epic lineup. Hey, Stitch. It's an epic lineup. You can go and check out the full lineup on my grid, but don't do that now. I want you to stay right where you are, because I want to introduce you to my first guest of the series. Hey, Liz. My first guest. So much love for her. In fact, I'm going to bring her in now. I'm going to bring her to you guys as she's coming on. Yeah. Afterwards, after this is done, then go and check out the rest of the series lineup.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Really good, thank you. Have I joined too early? I wanted to be on time.
You're bang on. Thank you. I was just literally great timing. I was about to introduce you to my wonderful community. Yeah. So everybody, meet Ola Pelo. So for those of you who don't know, I'm going to give you a proper introduction in a second. She is the one, the only matriarch of the plantain-loving, TikToking family that is the Ola Pelo fam, right?
The Pelo fam, yes, that's right, yeah.
Thank you
Hi, Gemma.
Thank you so much for agreeing to be my guest.
No, thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay? Is the sound all right?
Sound is perfect. You're looking wonderful. You look very chilled.
Yeah, no, I definitely always look forward to escaping and just coming in here, just having a reason to just have some downtime. But I'm looking forward to speaking about all things content with you.
I know, exactly. So, formerly Global Brand Partnership Manager at TikTok. Now you're a full-time content creator. You're a mum of 3, soon to be 4, because what we can't quite see on the screen is your beautiful
bump.
The bump. Oh, hello, bump. You've got a goal, haven't you, to share your honest experiences of being a mum in the digital age, and you're really passionate about using your platform to educate and to increase visibility of your Black British family, raising your children with a love for the African heritage as well. You don't shy away from having uncomfortable conversations either about race, and obviously you've got your reputation as that dancing TikToking family as well.
Yeah.
So lots and lots of good stuff. I want to get stuck in. Your content is exceptional. It's brilliant, it's fun, it's easygoing. But we all know, those of us who create content, it's personal, right? And it really taps into your energy supply. So tell me, how do you manage to, protect and maintain that creative energy, that inspiration when, life is just happening as it has been doing over the last 18 months?
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, which is a really good question as well. I think as creatives, sometimes we look for inspiration outside of what's going on, whereas what people actually need to be served is content that meets them at their pain points and at their joy points at that specific time. So rather than carrying on with your sort of posting schedule and all that stuff, it's like, where are your audience, and do they need to laugh, or do they need you to be honest about how hard parenting is and stuff like that? So I think content is more about the connection that you have with your audience and understanding that you're there to serve them. But equally, in that same process, you have to stay authentic to you. If you're doing something to look Insta worthy or whatever, your audience is so savvy and will notice that you are just trying to put a picture perfect image across, which isn't something that goes down with a lot of people. So I definitely think, rather than kind of thinking, oh my gosh, I need all this inspiration, take inspiration from where your audience really need to be met, and where are their eyeballs. If you're seeing that more people are in your stories and more people are engaging with you in the DMs and stuff, that kind of use them as your focus group. Like, do you prefer things in stories? I mean, Instagram is very, like, it's developing quite rapidly. Things like polls, I think some people use it just like for fun, like this or that, but you can also use it as like a point of checking in with your audience, that where would you prefer me to drop this sort of content? Would you want me to put it on stories, or do you want me to put it on IGTV? And if they're saying stories and you still go ahead and do IGTV, then you can't be mad when your content doesn't do really well, or isn't, like, people don't engage with it, because they've told you where they want the content. So you have to be prepared to ask and listen at the same time.
That's a great point. I mean, several points in there. There's a couple that I picked up was using Instagram and features within it as a market research tool. I actually had an in conversation with a lady called Katie Tucker, who runs a market research company called Product Jungle. And she tells you exactly, she's got some brilliant tips on there as to how to use features like that in a really, intuitive way, in order to be able to get the most out of your audience, so you're serving them best. Mm-hmm. And I love your point about having that authentic connection with your audience. Now, I know that lots of people mention that word authenticity, right? It is completely, I think it's lost its true meaning. Yeah. But I want to ask you, what does authenticity mean to you and your content? Mm-hmm. And how do you maintain that? How do you stay true to that when it's so very easy on social to lose yourself?
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good question, because I think authenticity and the word content, those two things are the two words that get thrown about, that you're like, you can ask a million different people and they'll all have different descriptions of what content means to them. So, and I think authenticity is just that. It's like, what makes you unique? And it is very easy, like you say, to kind of scroll and be like, maybe I should be doing a bit of fashion, maybe I should be doing a little bit of this, and you really get sidetracked. But I think you have to be intentional with what your purpose is on social media. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't always mean to monetize. It could be like you're trying to build a community. You might be trying to kind of find like-minded people that you can kind of just have a conversation with, that you can have downtime with. And I think a lot of people think you have to be on social media, and the likes, of course. Authenticity is when you don't worry, you know that your content, even if it hits one person and makes a difference to them, then you've done it. You've done your job right. And so I think it's very hard. And I think brands now are becoming more and more aware that it's not the likes. It's easy to like something because it's become our natural behavior, hasn't it? Because you scroll, like. But then it's the true engagement, the conversations, just like when you go to buy a product and you read the reviews and the exchanges between people. That's more powerful than the number of products in itself. So you can see on Amazon, there might be 3,000 reviews, and of those reviews, you might see 5 comments. And if those 5 comments, one of them puts a little bit of doubt in your mind, or some of them are supporting the products, then it either gives you reassurance or it either warns you off that this isn't what I want to buy. And that's the same thing when you're on social media. I think you are a brand, and I think people need to remember that. And your authenticity depends on, like, where does it lie? Where does your true intentions lie with the content that you're creating?
It comes back to your purpose. I'm pointing here because I'm pointing to my heart, because it's like your purpose, your values, that you hold close to you. And I often say to clients and young people that I work with is keep close. If you need to, write it down somewhere that you can see every single day, because it is easy, because of the way that social media platforms are structured, to get hooked in and to lose yourself. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, especially in your position as a content creator, you suddenly start veering off, using content that doesn't align with your values or doesn't align with what your audience is expecting, and suddenly you've got this nosedive everywhere, which has long-term implications for your brand. But yeah, I love that. It's keeping it close.
Right? Yeah, and I think it's also not trying to hold on to stages that you may have moved on from, just because you felt that do you know, we're all growing up, like, and eventually, like, your audience will change as you grow as well. And my page used to be a beauty page where I would have time. I could sit in the bathroom for hours and do makeup. Now with 3 kids, I don't have that time. And my audience reflect that growth in my journey as well. And I think being authentic is being able to recognize where you are and the sort of conversations that are going to be natural for you to have, like, because it's true to you. Authenticity is the truth, like living and speaking your truth.
It is your truth. You're absolutely right. And it is that everyone evolves, right? And it is that sometimes it takes a very brave person to be able to step back and have that shift. It might be quite a dramatic shift. Again, if you are owning that, if you acknowledge that that's your truth, then the audience that you've built up will come with you on that journey and support you along the way.
Yeah.
If done authentically. There's so much good stuff here. Oh, God,
hi to everyone joining. I don't want to ignore the comments because I like to be quite interactive, which I'm sure we'll get onto that point in terms of engaging with your audience in a bit and stuff. But yeah, just wanted to acknowledge everyone waving and saying hi and stuff. I think I saw Georgia, saw a couple of comments and stuff, but hi guys.
There's lots of wonderful comments saying hi and spot on, and lots of like-minded people on this. Thank you so much, everybody who's joining us live, by the way. I want to ask you as well, you say that your goal is to, and I'm reading here, create a more representative view that diversifies social spaces. And in turn challenges stereotypes, because we can't solely rely on the media, as we all know, right, to consistently show an authentic representation of all people, right? So I'm really interested, how do you share that goal, particularly with your children, because they're so wonderfully involved with your content? So how do you get them involved with that? How do you share that value with them?
I think it's about just living the life that you want them to kind of naturally, how do I speak it? Because when I look at Maya, a lot of times I'm like, I've never sat her down to say things specifically to her, but realizing that they are watching every single thing that you do. So as much as I can say, be nice to people, they need to see me being nice to people for them to kind of turn that into their personality. But getting them involved, because they are the social media age, wasn't that hard. I mean, like, you have kids, 5-year-olds doing TikToks and stuff in the playground. And I think it's about realizing that as parents now, we can't really be dictators, but we have to be the guide. So we have to guide that process and have those open lines of communication. That means that you can then instill in them the reason why you are doing things like social media, which is like, Maya would be like, because someone said that we were professional joy bringers, and she was like, yeah, we create content. And I asked her what content is, and she was like, think content is something that makes people happy. And that's the simplest term that you could ask for in terms of content. It is something that makes people happy, and it makes people feel something. And then obviously then I then take it within my background of understanding marketing, that it's things like, everybody has a soundtrack to their lives. Everybody has something that makes them feel emotionally connected. And that can be through music. That can be through like sounds. That could be through throwbacks. That could be through like just stories. But the key here is like, that storytelling is what gets brands' attention, and it has to, if it feels fake, people can tell,
it comes off
tell.
Right?
Yeah.
I sense it.
Yeah, you can tell. And I feel like when people ask and they're just like, I can't believe you and your husband like actually doing this full time and stuff like that. And it's like, let this serve as a reminder, not that look at us kind of thing, but more, and I say this all the time in my stories, the fact that if we're doing it, that means you can do it too. And I'm all about when people ask me things in the DMs. And I think we need to understand that as big as this space is, I think we need to share a lot of the how-tos as much as the look at me, look at where I am kind of thing, because diversifying the space doesn't mean I only want to exist alone in the space. It means being able to look around and see people who look like me and other families who've been inspired by what we do and have been able to make that life-changing decision and be able to spend more time with their kids at home and create content for work. Like, it still blows my mind. So
dream job, right?
Yeah.
Do that as a family. And I think that role modeling you talk about is essential. It's the role modeling, it's the diversity, and it's also acknowledging that, and this is something we do not have time for this. I wish we did to talk about it, but it's that there's space for everyone, and there's space for people, Black people, Asian people. There's not a cap. It isn't a, well, there's one Black person doing this in this space, therefore let's not have any more. There's room for everyone. There's room to inspire everybody. There's room because we all come, like you just mentioned, with different stories. Different stories, different ways of entertaining, different ways of educating. And it's, let's open that. What you do with your content and being so inspirational.
Yeah, and I love lives like this as well, because I wish, like, just things like where it can be like, look, these are the steps, because I think not a lot of people share the steps, but it is hard work. These are the steps that we took to get to where we are today. These are the conversations. And if anybody's ever spoken to me in the DMs and stuff and said, oh, a brand has offered me this, and I have a bunch of questions, template questions that I'll be like, so this is what I used to ask before we had management. Obviously, we're super humbled that the fact we have management now, that these are some of the questions. Are you going to be putting paid media behind it? Are you going to, what's the usage? What's the buyout? Is it going to be used? What platforms is it going to be used on? And that in itself is actually what you earn a living out of. It's the continuous use of you kind of validating that brand, not that brand using you on the one occasion. And I think if we can share a lot more of there is no rate card for influencer marketing or for talent or anything like that. So it means it relies on us to talk to each other. And this is what we said about there's so much space. If we're not talking to each other, then it almost means like you're okay with other people not getting what they deserve. And that's what I think about. Like,
Don't even get me started on that topic, Ola. I can see Liz, who's the Black Nursery Manager. She's going to be my guest in a couple of weeks' time, and we were in DMs today talking about that, because she was talking about that specific topic about knowing your worth and stating your worth with brands or with organisations who want to work with you, who want to benefit from your community, your knowledge, your creativity. It's like, well, own that, stand up, be brave enough to say, well, actually, great, it'll cost you this much. And I love the fact that you said it's the exchange that goes on between business owners, content creators, and sharing that knowledge as well, because that empowers us all. It empowers us all, and it helps to educate the rest of that community, the brands, the partnerships, the business owners, the local, I don't know, council or whoever it is that you're doing business with. That your content does not come for free. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes energy, and you should rightly be rewarded for that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I feel like, hi Liz, knowledge is power. Gemma just said as well, knowledge is power. Of course it is. And I think that what we need to realize is in this space, that knowledge can become very dated very quickly, which is again a reason why it's up to you to speak to people and not feel like, oh my gosh, that person might feel like I'm asking a question and stuff, because just like things like changes like the swipe up link being wiped out eventually, and we had a couple of brands push back and say, oh, you haven't put a swipe up, and I was like, oh, that was started to be phased out by the August the 30th, and this is what it's going to look like. They're going to test it with a fair few amount of users first, and then they're going to roll it out to Instagram. So if you want to exist in this space, I think you also need to keep your ear close to the ground with the updates that are going to happen in this space that we are currently renting, because at any time it can change and it can affect that bigger picture. So hence why, I mean, like Gemma, who's on here, she's just launched, like she's going to be releasing a book, like kind of thinking, where can you diversify your talent so that it's beyond relying on just Instagram?
100%.
Because if it disappears, then your whole audience and your livelihood disappears with it as well. So it's so important.
I say that to clients all the time. Social media is powerful. However, it's not the only tool in your marketing kind of like toolbox. You have to consider other options and keep educating yourself, because you're right, one day it could switch off. So where are your assets? Who, you know, where is that content? How do you keep that connection going with your audience and keep your livelihood alive as well? Oh my days, we are so almost out of time, Ola. I just want to ask one last final question, because I couldn't come on and not have a moment to mention and recognize the awesomeness that is your husband, Darcy.
Yeah.
Oh my days, the two of you together are crazy inspiration. I love you both. Can you sum up how it is that your relationship works when it comes to creating content, brand partnerships? I don't know. Can you do that? Sum that up in 30 seconds? I don't know.
Have we got 30 seconds? Is it just 30 seconds?
It's only me. I did this for 20 minutes, so I'm just trying to keep to time.
Okay, so basically, I think I'm the dreamer. Like, I have my head up in the sky, and he has his feet on the ground. So he's very the realist kind of, what does this look like in the long term? And is this a brand, almost like if a brand approaches us, he'll check their feed, he'll look at their website, he'll do all the kind of background research. He's very much like, he needs references before he can also put his face to something, which is so important. And it means that we can then think, right, okay, if they wanting to have these conversations now, like, how can we add value, but continuously beyond the one time to them? And the way we kind of do it, obviously he might save music and he'll be like, what do you think of this for the brief that we've got? Or I've seen this idea. Or we can be watching a film. I don't think I've ever watched a film the same way since we've become content creators, because we look at angles, we look at audio, we look at, oh my gosh, did you see that? Did you listen to that? And that is us. We will pause films just to take notes so that we can be like, if we did get a brief that was around whatever it is, we could look at doing something like that. Did you see the way the camera started at their feet and then moved up to their head? So it gave you the feeling as if you were growing with them and all that stuff. And I think that storytelling and video and short form, and knowing that the world is it's going beyond pictures, because authenticity, people want to see the way things move. They want to see a real smile, not just a snapshot of it, which is why video is key. So I think definitely Darcy, he has such a key role behind it. We often come in here in the annex when the kids are asleep, because if anything we can see in the house and the garden and stuff. But he's very much like, he is the realist. He thinks about, okay, when they come with budget, he's just like, right, so have you spoken to many other influencers who they've worked with? Is that what their standard budget would usually be like and stuff?
He sounds like he's the strategic partnership part of the partnership. He does the diligence, and I love the complementary nature. He's long term, those strategic kind of questions, a bit like playing chess. Head, right? And you're the creative force. But you guys, that was a beautiful story you told about being able to look at the world, whether it's a movie, whatever it is, with these beautiful content glasses on.
Yeah,
that's a skill, and that's a talent. I try to kind of inspiring my clients as well, because once you can almost flick that switch, a whole new world opens up, right?
Yeah. And you know what? I don't feel no way. And there have been people that I've either met for lunch or I've DM'd because they've done an amazing piece of content, but it's just, and it's not, because I just feel like, I'm not saying I know better than you or I want to have what you have. It's more like, do you know what? That was so good, but the music was just so loud, I could barely hear you, and it meant that we lost the messaging in a lot of what you were trying to say. If you had turned the music down, or you could have just done text on the screen, so that at every single time the music changed, there was a different frame, because even 15 seconds in a story, you lose people's attention. So I edit a lot of our videos, and I keep it as, I edit it, but I keep it as unedited, in terms of like, I keep all the funny bits, all the raw bits in it. But I know that people want to be kind of entertained quicker, like, because of the pace of what social media is like. So I use Splice and I use Video Leap. They're my two favorite apps that I use all the time. I buy the music on iTunes, which means that when I do then post it on stories, then it means that it doesn't get flagged for like plagiarism. But where I have had issues, a quick tip is just make sure you play less than 15 seconds of the song. then have a natural audio, then carry the song on afterwards, and then it recognizes it as like samples as opposed to like a whole minute worth of music.
That's a
and
great
things like that. And I love sharing that. I will message people and be like, do you know what? Here's a stop motion app. Here is how we did it.
Yeah.
And I wish I could do that more, but it is exhausting. Like, because I still got a piece of content to film and record this evening and edit, film and record the same thing and edit. Because, you know, and that's the thing as well. I think once you get into a role with these clients, you have to treat a £300, not that they should ever start that low at this age, but a £300 brief the same way you would do when that brief becomes 30K. Right. So you give it the same oomph, but people like until it gets to that point where they can't deny your worth, it's almost like you give them a taster session and you're like, okay, right, I'm not going to take your first offer, but we'll work on this together. And when they come back next time, I'm like, well, the results you used last time, you used it on an ad. And I think we're going to be talking about something that's going to mean that I can take the whole of August off because it's going to make a difference. And I say this in a way to inspire people because brands have life-changing money. They have life-changing money. That means that if you're clever with it, you don't need to have loads of brands that you're working with. You just need to be strategic with the brands that you're working with who are willing to put their hands in their pocket, commit to you and be able to say, we're going to work with you and grow with you as a family, not just turn up when you've got to wherever you are kind of thing. So, as you can tell, I'm so passionate about this stuff.
Yeah, I can tell. And it's absolutely, I love the fact that you're encouraging each and every one of us to reach out to others, to ask questions, be curious in a respectful way. But also, I love the fact that you will offer constructive criticism as well, because it makes us all better. Because there's no one person who can win. We can all win because there's enough space.
Yeah.
We're out of time, Ola, but oh my days.
I thought it was an hour long. I thought you'd got me out of bedtime. I was like, yes, it's an hour long. I might just sit here and talk to an empty screen after we finish the live so that Darcy thinks I'm still on the live.
Thank you so much for giving up your time, chatting with me. And thank you to everybody who joined us live. There's lots of new faces. I know they've come from your community, Ola. And I hope that you choose, if you're watching live, to stick around on my community as well. I'd love to have you here. Sounds like we've got some lovely like-minded people as well.
No, I want to hear more.
Kalima, maybe we'll have a part 2.
I think we definitely need to, like, within our community, I think we don't need to wait for events to be like, we can just have these, like, and you're doing a great job. And I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. I know that I learned so much from people who are in this space to teach other people as well how to be better. And with you, with doing like the strategic and the digital side of it, I think this space can't exist without that as well. So I'm really thankful. I'll be tuning into the rest of the series, guys. And
awesome, definitely. I'm back next Wednesday at 7 o'clock with another guest. Please do join me, and I hope you've enjoyed this as well. But for now, chillax there, Ola. I'm not going to tell anyone that we've cut the the feed.
Live.
Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye.